Should loyalty to a tribe, nation, or party outweigh personal moral principles? What does it mean to be principled while living in a world dominated by partisan division? Can our instinctive desire to belong be reconciled with our desire for moral integrity? And if so, how can we help our own side reform to better stand by the principles it aims to support? All of that and more in today's video. Which ought to come first, principle or party? Well, many of us probably have a quick instinctive answer. There's a good chance that the ideology we've grown up with has informed the way we view this question. In the West, for example, where individualism and the primacy of reason are celebrated, most people would probably argue that it's more important to stand by principle, even to the point of heroically confronting a corrupt system, because compromising your beliefs would be an affront to your personal dignity. Elsewhere, however, where communitarian harmony and tradition may be prioritized, such a principled stand against systems established for the common good might be viewed as selfish, destructive, and needlessly divisive, placing the interests of a single person above the good of an entire community, based upon the hubristic assumption that one knows better than everyone else. While I'm not currently equipped to address non-Western perspectives on this matter, and I certainly don't want to treat all non-Western perspectives as a monolith or inaccurately oversimplify them, I do wish to reflect critically on some Western assumptions, which are more familiar to me as a Westerner. Namely, are we truly as individualistic as we often perceive ourselves to be? As much as we romanticize the idea of a principled individual challenging a corrupt and immoral system, do we actually tend to admire the people who do this in practice? When someone from our political party challenges said party to behave better, do we instinctively agree with that person and celebrate them for promoting a more ethical political environment? Or do we instinctively view them as a threat to the success of our party, and therefore our agenda, hoping for their dissent to be silenced? If we're being honest with ourselves, most of us probably have done the latter, or at least have been tempted to do so. There is a strong instinct within us, right or wrong, that tries to put party over principle. Well, instinct aside, what ought to come first? Well, promotion of the common good is crucial, as I've previously established in my Civility Matters video. It's also the case that the common good must be rooted in objective truth. If policy is not rooted in truth, it will contradict circumstances as they are, and inevitably lead to failure in the long run. As such, loyalty, as important as it is, must be subject to principle, not because loyalty isn't important, but rather because true loyalty, which seeks the greater good for those whom we are loyal to, must prioritize authentic flourishing rather than mere subjective consensus. As the medieval philosopher Augustine argues, our first loyalty must always be to truth and moral principles, transcending all political entities and tribal affiliations. Likewise, as the Roman statesman Cicero concurs, it is crucial to prioritize truth and justice over personal gain or loyalty to a faction, because only truth and justice will authentically promote the common good. That's all well and good, one might argue, but how do we overcome our instinctive desire to belong at any cost? And how do we temper our own frustrations towards those who criticize the groups we belong to from a principled position? The problem is far from insignificant. As Brian Kaplan, a researcher of public choice theory, observes, many people, contrary to their own self-perception as creatures principally driven by logical decision-making, often make judgments or support positions based on systematic biases rather than authentic rational consideration. For example, people may find themselves attracted to oversimplified explanations for complex realities, such that they are more easily directed towards demonizing a scapegoat. Likewise, people may be prone to believing that things are worse than they are, and that the future is a lost cause if certain circumstances are to occur, such that they can more easily be encouraged to embrace drastic measures to keep their opponents from attaining or retaining power. to make matters worse, public figures, powerful elites, and leaders of public discourse often exploit these systematic biases to get people to fall in line on matters that would otherwise be logically questionable. Party affiliation is often used as a shortcut to determine the rightness or wrongness of a policy, and people are encouraged to think in neat ideological slogans rather than critically, empirically, and objectively. The outcomes of such behavior in the long term are disastrous. Collaborative problem solving is replaced by political obstructionism and partisan identity politics. Pragmaticism is replaced by radicalism and ideology. And those who are most inclined to reach across the aisle to find practical solutions to problems that require bipartisan compromise are castigated as having no principles, being disloyal, or being unintelligent. We live in a world where being independent or undecided means that you are often viewed not as holding nuanced and principled perspectives, but rather you are viewed with suspicion, as having ulterior motives or unclear morals. Why do we find ourselves in such a state? Well, according to Jonathan Haidt, author of The Righteous Mind, such partisan tribalism is a negative consequence of the fact that we as humans are by nature social animals. While our social nature opens up a communal component to our way of life that helps encourage holistic thriving, it also predisposes us to groupishness that can lead to an in-group favoritism and out-group hostility. Rather than approaching things objectively and rationally, we often respond to things instinctively and rationally justify them after the fact. While Haidt does make some arguments I don't personally agree with, namely that we should overcome groupishness by embracing moral pluralism, I do think that his observations are important for understanding the human condition. So, if humans are predisposed to like our own and reject those who threaten us, how do we put principle before party as we know we ought to? Well, as difficult as it might be, the first step is to engage in humble self-reflection. Do we abide by the principles we claim to support? Are we perhaps guilty at times of the very things we criticize the other side of doing, potentially to the point of dismissing them? Do we try to explain away disagreements by ascribing divergent opinions to malice or ignorance, even when such an assumption might be dehumanizing and unwarranted? Do we ever express ourselves in condescending, alienating, or counterproductive ways, only to then blame the other side for responding poorly from an alleged place of malice? Do we overlook or excuse the faults of our own side when we feel it might inconvenience us? Do we define ourselves by what we're for, or do we build our identity around what we're against? Once we've engaged in this self-reflection, we can begin to ask ourselves what our principles truly are, and whether the positions we hold are truly rooted in our principles, or whether we've ascribed positions out of blind loyalty to party, even to the extent of contradicting our principles. By developing a clearer vision, we can not only live more intentional lives, but we can also work to make those we stand in solidarity with on matters of principle better at living the principles they aim to espouse. If we truly want those who support our principles to succeed, we should focus less on short-term gains at the expense of integrity and more on improving our side's attractiveness through honest, genuine commitment to ethics and principle. What do you think? How can we best put principle before party? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you can be notified when new videos are released. Also be sure to like this video so that YouTube recommends it to others. If you'd like to support this channel for as little as $1 a month, you can also become a supporter on Patreon. Links in the description of this video. It may not be easy to put principle before party, but in a world where partisan divisions often drown out our shared humanity, it can be incredibly rewarding to commit ourselves instead to integrity, respect, and humility. Change for the better starts first at home. Let's commit to building a better future together. Peace be with you. This has been The Philosopher.